Hi, I'm Alan Zabo Jr. here at Align. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the new G Pro with the Bluetooth with iOS device. Here I've got my iPad mini, so we're going to go ahead and open up our Align G Pro, and we're going to go ahead and connect this using Bluetooth. So pretty simple, just search a device for the Bluetooth. You should go ahead and pull it up here in the list. We have a passcode for when you're using a new Bluetooth device, so nobody else can just edit it. This one here, we already have this password set. Now we're connected. So I'm going to go ahead and go through just the setup menu and the parameter. We've already set this helicopter up in a previous video with the PC, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you just how all the functions work here on this as well. So we're going to go ahead and go through the setup menu. Because I've already set this up, I'm going to go ahead and just use the edit feature. You can see we have our receiver types already set to Spectrum DSMX, which is what we did previously. Here we have our aileron. You can see that with the radio movements, we are set to our 100%. Elevator, same thing. Pitch, everything here works correctly on the radio. Rotor, throttle as well. Our gyro gain's all set, and we're not using anything else, so we can go ahead and go to the next page. We can see that our gyro mounting is already selected correctly. You know, if we had it in a different position, we could change that just by tapping. Very simple and easy. We have our rotor blade direction. It's already done. We got our collected pitch, which again, positive swatch plate up, which is exactly the way this helicopter set up. We have our swatch plate. If we had a different one, we can scroll to another setting, but as we already have this set up, it's correct on our HR3. Next page, we have our sub trim. Again, the helicopter will shut off to allow us just to move the settings. We can just grab this bar and move it. You can see as it adjusts the helicopter. Big movements, you know, a little jumpy, but we'll just kind of get close here for fine movements. And then also, you know, we got the 3 servos. You can adjust them to wherever they need to be. Next thing here, we have our collective trim. You can see moves all 3 together just to get our zero pitch set correctly. And then our cyclic trims, just in case if it's not perfectly flat, we can you can see we can adjust it. Again, using a swatch plate leveler is highly recommended for all of these settings. And then next we have our positive collective. I have this helicopter set at 12 degrees positive. Again, we can use the cyclic trim to get the swatch plate perfectly level if for some reason it's a little off or not at positive collective. Same with our negative collective. You can see the turn highlights so we can adjust it if we need more or less. And then again, cyclic trim we can adjust as well. And then we have our setting for our cyclic pitch for our 8 degrees. We can check it by tapping zero pitch to double check that our zero pitch is correct. And then we can just tap it to go to 8 degrees. And we can adjust it from there if it needs to be increased or decreased. And you can do fine adjustments as well. Next page, we have our servo type. We have our drop down, which for our tail, which is a standard servo. Our rudder direction we can adjust as well. And then we have our neutral point. If you know your servo horn isn't exactly perfect straight up and down, you can adjust it a little bit. We have our left and right travel limits. Just move the stick over. We can increase or decrease the number. Same with the right. You can hear it binding there. Back it off. Once we're all done with that, we can go to our next one. This is all for nitro governor. Since we're not using the nitro governor, I don't have this set up. It's disabled. But you can turn it on. It's very simple to set up. You just set the min and max on the settings here, and you can adjust the gain and head speed, gear ratio, and everything right here. And that's now, we're done here with the setup. Now we can continue on to the parameters menu, which is now, our first option is what size helicopter we're using. Obviously we're using an 800 here, so we have 500 and up. And if you're using a 250 and 450, you can select the smaller size. If you have a beginner size helicopter, if you're a beginner, you can select like a default setting for beginners. It'll just make it very soft and stable. Next, I can show you here for our flight response. This is what I use on my 700 is 95% for flight response, which is how fast it comes off center. We have our agility, which is overall flip speed. Our swatch gain. And with the G Pro here with the Bluetooth, all this is live tuning. You can just change it to whatever you want it to be. You can grab the bar and just move it. Swatch gain, I don't usually change it. Our cyclic expo, higher numbers, softer. If you go on the negative side, it makes it a lot twitchier. I usually fly my helicopter around 25 to 30 usually. Cyclic dead band or elevator pre-compensation and fast forward flight. If your helicopter, when moving the collective, if the helicopter pitches, you can adjust this. Increasing it might help, decreasing it might help. I found pretty much the default value on all our helicopters seem to be very good. We have our tail pyro rate. Default's usually around 100. Pretty good for most people. I run mine usually a lot faster, but you can just play with it. We have our rudder gyro gain. I usually just leave that default because we've already set the gyro gain in the radio to about 45%. So this is just for offsetting that default value. We have our rudder expo. You can move this around. You know, again, we don't really change anything in the radio. It's all done on the G Pro. We have our rudder deadband, tail acceleration. If the helicopter doesn't pirouette, come off center fast enough, you can increase this, and if it's too fast, you can decrease it. We have our stop gains, basically. If you pirouette to the right, it stops too soft, you can increase this. And if it's too hard of a stop, and you get like a bounce back, you can make it a little softer. Same thing with the left. You can increase or decrease. The P gains and I gains, I usually never touch them. Default's usually pretty good. There'll be a help file if you want to fine tune it more. Like I said, I would just leave it default. We have our collective to tail settings. So when you move the collective, if the tail bounces when you're in a hover and you climb, you can try decreasing it or increasing it to keep it a little straighter. Cyclic to tail, same thing. Doing tick-tocks, if your tail bounces a little bit, you can try adjusting this. It might help it. Next parameter here is the governor gain. Again, this is only for nitro helicopter. Since we're using electric, we can skip it. We can go back to our main menu here. We can save our files. Like this is, we can call this our 800. We have our parameter as well. 800 the day, maybe. June 6 or something, or 2nd. We can open back up those files. So if you have multiple helicopters, nice and easy to load it in. Other than that, that's pretty much it. We have to disconnect. Highly suggest disconnecting before flying. You don't want it to be connected to your phone while trying to fly. And then to reconnect is pretty easy. And then reconnecting, and we can change our parameters. So that pretty much goes over our G Pro app for the iOS, and hope you guys enjoyed.
Okay.